This always happens these days. That is so strange to me. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. We are talking about politics today. I just got to fix my background real quick. Fixing the background. Fixing the background. This happens every single day now. All right, welcome, everybody. You can ask me anything that you like about politics. Now that my background is back up, fantastic. All right. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. We're talking about politics today. So if you got any questions about politics, let me know. There's no judgments, there's no debating, there's no roasting. So you just ask me whatever you like, and I will give you the best answer that I can manage. Let's see here. What else we got going on? I know that it can be difficult sometimes when you don't know anything about politics. It can be very intimidating. And I don't believe in intimidating people. I don't believe in making people feel stupid for not knowing things. So you can ask me anything that you like. It can be as simple or as complicated of a question as you like. There's no such thing as a stupid question. So go ahead and ask me whatever it is that you are curious about. There was a time when I didn't know anything about politics, and I was always very intimidated to even try to ask about it. And so I try to make myself available to other people so they do not feel that way going forward. What's up, Millie Goose? Good to see you again. Yeah, anything that you like. I remember being in college and asking my friends a question about politics, and they roasted me to death because they thought that that was a dumb question that I asked. And so I do not make people feel that way. I am not here. Frederick Benoit, 199, says, what make you the person I would want to ask about politics? Well, I know a lot about it, so you can either ask me or leave or watch. It's up to you. Skippy, I started a new account just so I could see you after the election. What happened to your first account, Skippy? All right. Yeah, ask me anything that you like, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I do not believe in making people feel stupid for not knowing things about politics. So if you don't know things, you can ask me, and I will not make you feel dumb, and I will not roast you. Maybe you're worried that somebody's going to go, oh, I want to ask this question, but I'm afraid that people will think I'm woke, or I'm afraid that people will think I'm MAGA or something. But you don't have to worry about any of that. If you are asking me a question in good faith, there will be no roasting whatsoever. George Mitchell says, is my Social Security in danger? Yes. DSJJ says, more visas or less? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Joni says, I'm woke. I would consider myself woke as well. This person just says MAGA, exclamation point, and that is a block. Here's the thing. I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but at least say something substantive, like ask a question, get involved. You could say, listen, I'm MAGA, and I wonder why you don't like Donald Trump. Like, that's a perfectly reasonable question. But if you just gloat about winning the election, or you call me a cuck or anything like that, that's a mute. Let's see here. I mean, visa as in immigration. I mean, I'm sure there are some downsides to immigration, but it seems like the benefits outweigh the downsides because, immigrants contribute to our economy. They pay more in taxes than they take out in social services. They, commit crimes at lower rates than naturalized citizens. It doesn't seem to be any downside to me. Let's see here. King Mayo Man, you heard about Kamala quietly calling for a recount. I've seen that narrative on the internet, but I have not seen any substantive reporting to confirm it. So I would encourage people to not jump to conclusions. Do not assume that something is happening just because you heard a nameless, faceless, anonymous person on the internet say so. Let's see here. DSJJ251 says, pro or anti-federal home building? Yeah, I think we should be building houses. Absolutely. We're having a housing shortage right now. It's part of the reason why housing costs are so expensive right now. Let's see here. Are you in favor of illegal immigration? I feel like gaining a visa and two are blended together. Well, listen. There's an idea that people have about illegal immigration being this very cut or dry thing. It's like you cross the border illegally, now you're an illegal immigrant, but it's much more complicated than that. People come over, they have their passports, they cross the border, they tell immigration that they are just here for a holiday or something like that, and then they just never go back. Like, that's mainly what happens. Is like most of the illegal immigration that happens is not illegal border crossings, it is people flying over and then just overstaying their visas. But I feel like the right has this idea of illegal immigration as, just like being violent crime members who are sneaking across the border. They would have been stopped if we had a wall, but there's no wall, so they can just waltz right over with all their drugs and their guns, and they can do as much raping and murdering as they want, and that's just not the case. And so I would love it if we could just mature our debate around the border to include facts instead of just imagining that MS-13 and ISIS are pouring over our border and that is the cause of all the problems in this country. Hope says, do you understand why Kamala did not attend the Catholic dinner? I can't find anything about it. I don't know, actually. Yeah, there were a couple of events, like there's all these different quote-unquote controversies around things that Kamala did or did not do while she was campaigning. So I haven't dug into that one. I'm so sorry, Hope. Ray, how do we unite after this election, or are we not looking for that? Is it not in our best interests? I mean, uniting is always the key. Like there are forces in this country, mainly billionaires and shitty industrialists, who are trying to get people to fight. And they separate us by leftists versus liberals, left versus right, MAGA versus Rhino. And I think that it is an immigrant versus naturalized citizen, gay versus straight, trans versus versus cis. And I think that it is wise to look at things under the context of uniting ourselves. The only group that I am willing to completely fully throw under the bus are billionaires, because billionaires, they don't need to have all that money. Having all that money is a detriment to society, and so we need to do everything that we can to bring them down from billionaire status to just multimillionaire status. I feel like they'll be perfectly happy just being multimillionaires instead. I've said it in the past that we need to criminalize billionaires, but I think that people view that as like throwing billionaires in jail, when what I really mean is just like making it so that no one human being has $1 billion. So yeah, they're the ones who are trying to get us to fight. So they're the ones that I am fighting. Let's see here. Now we want to talk about Unite. Where was this on the last 4 years? Well, Voltron, I don't know what you're talking about, because as far as I know, on the left where I live, nobody was saying like, fuck MAGA, you're not allowed, blah, blah, blah. We're a big tent. It's the reason why Harris was campaigning with Liz Cheney. It was to say, listen, you are all welcome here under the Democratic umbrella, but we all need to unite against Donald Trump because he is a danger to society. Let's see here. Small Town Tall Girl says, I'm okay with 100 million. You get a public park and a parking spot with a sign, you want capitalism. That's very funny, Small Town Girl. I feel like I heard a bit about that on TikTok recently. I'm not saying you're plagiarizing. I'm just saying I've definitely heard similar sentiments, I think that's totally fine. Let's see here. DeFi Trader says, I get attacked all the time by y'all. Well, I don't know who you're talking about. It's really easy. Think about this, everybody. Like when you're thinking about like, oh my God, I got yelled at by some leftist on the internet the other day. You don't know who is on the other end of your computer screen, So I could tell you all day long that I'm being called by MAGA, a cuck soy boy 24/7, but I'm not going to hold that against like any actual Republicans, because I don't know who the fuck that person is. That could be someone in Russia. And the same thing if somebody's yelling at you and saying, actually what you did was racist, or actually that's not very woke of you. Like that could also easily be a person in Russia. So, let's all take the temperature down and not be like, every time I go on X, I'm always being called a fascist, blah, blah, blah. That's shit like that. Josh says, are we cooked? I'm not going to sugarcoat things. It's going to be really hard, but it's not game over. And if anybody is feeling despondent, Chris Hayes just came out with an episode of his podcast, Why Is This Happening?, that I highly recommend everybody check out, because it is all the things that you want to hear. It is all about how we're not cooked. It is all about how there is still hope for the country and for the future. All right. Cook 8077 says, is affirmative action racist? No. Let's see here. Skippy says, I found the smug elitist. Is it me? Let's see here. DeFi Trader says, keep losing votes because of this. Because of what? Because of me talking, saying we should be unified? Is that what your issue is? Does anyone know the definition of the word woke? Yeah, it's what MAGA doesn't, it's what anything that a MAGA person doesn't like is woke. Let's see here. This person says, I'm gaslighting even though I'm just saying nice things. Unbelievable. Inflation caused by deficit spending. I mean, that's one version, I suppose, Bradley, but I would argue that inflation was caused by greedflation. It was caused by COVID disrupting supply chains. It was caused by tariffs. There's a lot of different factors that you could ascribe inflation to. Bradley says, nope, it's the only version. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of the conversation. You're just sitting there going, no, it's the way that I say things are. Hummus Vacuum says, thoughts on Bernie getting sidelined by Hillary in the DNC in 2016. I think it's clear that the DNC definitely put their finger on the scale for Hillary, but I think it's also clear that more people voted for Hillary, like by a lot, like to the point where I don't even know if the DNC putting their finger on the scales would have affected the outcome of the election at all. Let's see here. JD Ackerman says, talk about Israel-Palestine. Absolutely. I do not think that America should be supplying weapons and money to Israel because they have been found to be committing war crimes. The Democrats, including Biden and Harris, were trying to put pressure on Israel to stop doing war crimes. And the Republican administration that is currently preparing to enter the government, the Trump administration, is basically saying that Israel can do whatever they want and that they should completely annihilate Palestine from the map. And this is the reason why I was campaigning hard for Democrats, is because I don't think that is correct. That is a good policy, but that is what Republicans are going to be doing going forward. So, I hope that everybody out there is prepared to protest the Trump administration for continuing to send money and weapons to Israel and not putting any pressure on them to try to end the war with the Palestinians. Let's see here. Can you guarantee me the money that went to Ukraine was all used on what it was supposed to be? No, I don't think any human being can do that. Let's see here. So the fact that Israel been allies since 1940 means nothing to you. Not a fan of loyalty, huh? Well, friendships change, especially when the leadership of those friendships change. The people that were running Israel in the 1940s are not the same people that are running it now. I will quote Hamilton. We made a contract with a king whose head is now in a basket. Do you want me to pick it up and ask it? So yeah, if you're friends with somebody since the 1940s and then all of a sudden they start invading the person that lives next door and brutally murdering people, then yeah, I think you're fine with not being friends with that person anymore. Let's see here. Grace, will the new regime attack civilians? Do you mean the new Americans regime, like the Trump administration? Because I believe, just based on what Trump has said and what he has done in the past and what everybody who's worked with him has said about him, that he is fine with attacking civilians and using the military to attack civilians. I mean, the only question at this point is, are any of the people that he is appointing to his cabinet, are any of the people in the military going to stand up to him? Because he will order the military against American civilians. Like we know that he wants to do that because he said many times that that's what he wants to do. And the people that he says that he admires, other world leaders that he says he admires, they do that also. And so there's no reason to believe that he doesn't want to do that. The only question is if he can. And the difference between 2024 Trump and 2016 Trump is that 2016 Trump, he had a bunch of people in his cabinet who would tell him, like, no, we're not going to do that. That's insane. He's not going to have that problem in 2024. So the big question is, like who's going to stop him? And I don't know if there will be people. I don't think there will be, but I don't know if there will be. So I guess we all just got to keep our heads on a swivel and worry about that, Let's see here. Braden Till, now he wants to put the military against his own people. LOL, dude is so radical. No one should be on. You talking about Trump is so radical? Yeah, he is so radical. Will the military actually do what he wants? Asks Sin. Well, so here's the thing. There are career people in the military who have a spine and who believe in defending the country, like as was their oath of duty. But the Trump administration is already talking about having mass layoffs within the militaries in order to replace those people with Trump loyalists who will just do whatever the fuck he asked them to do. So we just have to kind of keep an eye on that, because, the way that we react to those things beginning to happen is going to affect whether or not it happens or not. Let's see here. President is commander-in-chief. That is true. He'll definitely have military parades. Maybe people will get it then. Yeah, he wanted that before. There's no reason to suggest that he doesn't want it now. Important for us to protect the Second Amendment. Well, now that Republicans are in charge, there's no there's no worry that we're going to get rid of that. I mean, they might do. You're not allowed to have guns if you are of Hispanic descent. They might do. You're not allowed to have guns if you are a person of color. They might be. They might say you're not allowed to have guns if you ever voted Democrat in the past. You know, those are things that I am sure are on the docket in the Trump administration. Let's see here. Trump 2024. Haven't the Dems been doing that? Doing what? Trump 2024. I have a feeling that what you're going to say is not accurate just based on your fucking name. Let's see here. Gail Brown. Sin, what does that do to them? Will they keep pensions, etc.? I know nothing about, nothing but affects my family. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking here, Sin. Like, what does that do to them? I'm not really sure what you're asking. Gail, can you explain how dismantling the Department of Education and sending to the states will affect us? Yeah, all the things that we have as far as like national protections for like people with disabilities and, people whose English is not their first language, poor people being able to get access to free public education, like all of those things are threatened if we get rid of the Department of Education. In addition, the standards of what gets taught in public schools around the country will change depending on whether or not we have a Department of Education. Like, there are already public schools in the South that are trying to change curriculum in order to change history. Like, there are places in the South where they've been trying to teach that, like, slavery was good and that the Civil War was not fought over slavery. And so, yeah, we're going to have to worry about that also if we get rid of the Department of Education. Like, what version of history are they going to be teaching in Alabama and Texas and Florida and Tennessee and shit like that? Let's see here. Okay. Ink says, give me some proof on that, bud. Google is free. All right, Trump 2024. Congratulations. You have annoyed me. So now you're gone. Let's see here. Oh my God, that's what the libs want. You're so full of it. No, that's not true. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see here. Thoughts on John Thune? Ooh, yeah, not enough. Not enough to opine eloquently about it. Let's see here. Can they get rid of Social Security? Asked Kelly. Yes, they can. Was Kamala going to raise the school hours by 3 or not? I did not hear that as a potential policy of the Harris administration. Barefoot Papa Bear, is it okay to lie about who you voted for to avoid drama? I think that if you voted for Trump, I think you should have to stand up to the fact that you voted for Trump. I think that you should have to deal with the social ramifications of the fact that you voted for Trump. Now, if you're worried that there's going to be like political violence against you because you voted liberal, I think it's okay to lie about that. Like, protect yourself. Like, be safe. But, liberals are not, there's not as much left-wing violence as there is right-wing violence. So I'm not really worried about MAGA people getting attacked in the street because they voted MAGA. I think it's more going to be people saying like, hey, you're a fucking asshole. I can't believe you did this. There are women dying because of these abortion bans. How dare you? That sort of thing. And I think that, honestly, if you voted for Trump, you should have to feel that shame. Because what you did hurt women. And it's going to hurt a lot of people going forward. All right. Let's see here. What will happen with Antifa now? Well, Antifa's not really a group, so there's nothing to disband, All right. Can you show 2 examples of right-wing violence? Okay. January 6th and that dude that mailed pipe bombs to Democrats and reporters. All right. There you go. Easiest question I've ever been asked in my entire fucking life. Emmeline says, hurt women how? Excellent question, Emmeline. So, Donald Trump installed 3 Supreme Court justices who were instrumental in removing protections for abortion access. It's what's called the Dobbs decision. It reversed the previous decision of Roe versus Wade, which enshrined abortion rights as something that every woman in every state in this country should be able to enjoy. Now, because Roe is now overturned, thanks again to Trump and Republicans, it has gone down to the states. And there are some states in this country that are controlled by Republican administrations who have made it so that women can no longer access abortion care, even in the case of rape and incest, even in the case of the life and health and fertility of the mother. And we know this to be the case because women are coming forward with their horror stories. There are women who had to suffer for hours in pain because they could not get the life-saving medical care that they needed. These women were told that their babies are no longer viable, meaning their child that they wanted is going to die. And now they are dealing with that emotional pain. And in addition to that emotional pain, they're also being told, also, you could die. but I'm not allowed to help you until it gets worse. And you could also lose your ability to be fertile in the future. But I can't do anything about that until your situation gets worse. So they're women who are being tortured. They're being told to go bleed out in the parking lot, and hopefully it'll get bad enough where I can eventually give you some life-saving medical care. And sometimes, the women are able to recover from that, but it still means that they had to suffer for hours longer than they fucking had to. That's number one. Number two, some women have lost their ability to have children because of this. Sometimes waiting destroys your ability to have children. And so now there are children who no longer can have children. So now there are women who no longer have children who wanted children because of these abortion bans that Republicans put in place. Also, at least 4 women have died because of this. 2 women in Georgia and 2 women in Texas have died because of these abortion bans. And the people that voted for Trump, they are living in the same world as we are. They are living in the world where that information was available to them. And maybe they didn't see it because they only watch Fox News, or they were only on right-wing channels on X or Facebook or whatever, but they could have heard that information. And I'm willing to bet that of the 75 million people that voted for Trump, some of them knew that information, and then they still voted for Trump. And so, I have a little bit of leniency in my heart for you if you just didn't know about this because you were so far up your fucking Republican bubble that you just didn't hear about it. But if you did hear about it and you were still like, well, I still care about the price of eggs, I still care about, kicking people of color out of this country because they're all illegal immigrants to me, then you guys can go fuck right off to hell, in my opinion. So yeah, I hope that answered your question about how votes for Trump have hurt women. All right, going over to Twitch, we got a couple of comments. Monsieur Balls says, I suggest you take the issue of abortion more seriously. You mean poor women? Why did Obama fail to institute a statutory protection? It's a democratic failure. Okay. This is an argument that I'm fully prepared to engage in, Monsieur Balls. So here's what I would say about that. There is a narrative going around that Democrats could have enshrined abortion protection so many times in the past. It would have been so easy, but they just decided not to. They just decided they didn't want to do that for one reason or another. Like maybe they wanted a political football or something like that. And I am here to tell you officially that talking point is 100% complete and utter bullshit. It is a fucking lie from top to bottom. And if somebody believes that, that is the case, they have been lied to. Or they are telling you a purposeful lie. Here is the reality of the situation. The only time that Democrats could have passed a law to enshrine abortion protections in this country was in 2008. We had a supermajority in the Senate, and we had the House, and we had the presidency. But notably, we only had that supermajority for like 8 months, I think, because like one of the senators died and we had to have a snap election to replace him, and it was a whole fucking thing. So 8 months of a supermajority where we could have done a couple of things. We could have passed some legislation. But notably, the Democratic Party is not a monolith. And so there are people from the far left and the center left who are all arguing about what should we do, what should we do, what should we do. So Obama decides in that moment that he wants to do the Affordable Care Act. He wants to do Obamacare instead of enshrining abortion protections. Okay? Now, why did he do that? Why did he make that decision? Well, for one, there were not 60 pro-choice votes at that time. Yes, we had a supermajority, but not every one of those senators was willing to put their name on a bill enshrining abortion protection. Some of those senators were Democratic senators in red states, and they were like, well, I'm worried about winning my next election, so I'm not going to fucking do shit like that. And there were some senators who were pro-life, and they were like, listen, I'm a Democrat, but I can't in good conscience vote for a bill that allows abortion to happen because that is not part of my religion. And additionally, it was legal precedent. And so there was a large swath of the Democratic Party, myself included, who thought that you didn't need to pass a bill because it was legal precedent. It was already enshrined thanks to the Supreme Court. Now, obviously, that was wrong because, Donald Trump happened and he installed 3 Supreme Court justices, which nobody could have predicted any of those things were going to happen. And then they axed Roe versus Wade. So, yeah. It was a decision that seemed reasonable at the time. Given the option, I don't know if I would do anything differently. The Affordable Care Act saved lives and has made health insurance cheaper and more easily accessible for millions of Americans. I think if I was going to go back in time and change one thing, it wouldn't be that. It would be like trying to stop Donald Trump from being elected in the first place. So there is my answer for you, Monsieur Balls. There you go. Harley Ryder says, have you read Roe versus Wade? No, I have not. Data entry specialist says, it's like blaming the gunshot victim for not wearing a bulletproof vest. Yeah, there you go. Taylor says, OBGYNs are fleeing from red states, so more women will die due to these medical deserts. There is another example there. I always forget about that one. Taylor, this is the thing about Republicans and the Trump administration, is there are so many things that are wrong with the things that they do that they get lost in the sauce. You forget them all. Like sometimes people will be like, why don't you like Donald Trump? Why don't you like Republicans? Get into it. And then I'll just start ranting and raving about all the different things all the different reasons why, we should all never be voting for Republicans. And then, hours later when I'm off my stream, I'll be like, I completely forgot to mention January 6th. I completely forgot to mention that he stole children from immigrant parents and then lost their parents in other countries. And now there's thousands of children here who are orphans who are going to have fucking PTSD for the rest of their fucking life because they were ripped out of their parents' hands. And additionally, those parents are now suffering the worst pain that a human being can feel, losing their child for no fucking reason. So yeah, there's so many things that are wrong with it. You can't even keep them all in your fucking doodle at the time, Tracy, never mind, I'll unfollow you and every creator that ignore panicking seniors. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Let's see here. Pixie says, what about children in Gaza? Yeah, Pixie, I completely agree with you. We should not be sending money and weapons to Israel because Israel is doing war crimes. I think this is the worst thing that the Biden administration did. By far, without question, full stop. They should not have done that. I was on the phone with my representatives every fucking week telling them to put more pressure on the Biden administration to stop sending money and weapons to Israel because they are doing war crimes. But in the same breath, Pixie, in the same fucking breath, I was saying that we have to remember that Trump is going to be worse on this. And we already have seen it. We have already seen he has nominated Mike Huckabee to be the ambassador to Israel. And Mike Huckabee's opinion about this is Palestine should not exist. That is all Israel, in my opinion. Lindsey Graham said, why don't we just fucking nuke it? And then we'll be fucking done with it. Don Jr. was saying, I can't wait until all the Palestinians are gone. We can build luxury condos on all that great beachfront property. So I will not lose one fucking lick of sleep for the fact that I supported Democrats in this election because they were better. They were better, and I vote for better over worse. All right, let's get back down to here. All right. King Mesh says, can anything be done about the Supreme Court in the future with abortion? Absolutely, King Mesh, but we don't even need the Supreme Court. Like, all we need is a Democrat in the White House, a Democratic majority in the Senate, and a Democratic majority in the House. And then we can pass a bill restoring abortion access to every state in this country. And there's also things that we can do with the Democratic trifecta to change the Supreme Court. Like right now, we're looking at 2 more Supreme Court justices, 2 more far-right Supreme Court justices retiring, Alito and Thomas. They're going to be replaced with younger, you can imagine a more extreme. There are more extreme people out there than Alito and Thomas, and they're going to be. That's who the replacement is going to be. Eileen Cannon is probably going to be, on the Supreme Court or, nominated to a higher court level. Oh no, what do you call it? I am out of there. Yeah, Monsieur Balls, you're not saying things that are accurate over here on Twitch. So, you gotta stop spreading the propaganda, my man. I think that would be great if you would. All right, I forget what I was saying here. I forget what I was going on about before I got onto here. All right, ban, there we go, fantastic. Perfect. All right, let's go back into these comments. Okay, Sandwich, Texas woman died after being denied miscarriage care due to abortion ban. Yep, there you go. Oswald Hallguin Jr., a Democratic trifecta. Good luck with that. The Democratic Party is a joke. No, it's not. Let's see here. All right. Democratic Party is a joke. Unbelievable. While I agree abortion should be legal nationwide, it isn't a winning talking point nationally. Every data point Bucks in 6 suggested otherwise. Every poll suggested that running on abortion would mobilize female voters for Democratic candidates. Now, that didn't happen, and I have a couple of theories as to why that didn't happen, but, it was a perfectly reasonable expectation. It was a perfectly reasonable thing to assume based on all the polling, based on the outcome of the 2022 midterms, based on all the ballot referendums that passed protecting abortions in states like Kansas and Ohio. Like, if we could win a ballot referendum in Ohio protecting abortion access, there is no reason to believe that those women would just not go out and vote for the presidential election as well. There are some polling, calculus, caucus, math problems. We're going to have to look at the polling data and find out who voted for what going forward. But, I 100% thought it was a winning strategy. Let's see here. Bounty Hunter. I haven't seen a woman get beat this bad by a man since I watched the Olympics. I don't care for that kind of business on my live. Bounty Hunter, you're out of here. Let's see here. Peg leg fishing. Lost most of them when she told them to sneak behind their husband's back. You don't know that to be the case, Peg leg. I have seen no polling to suggest that. We are not going to know if that is a thing for a very long time. And honestly, I don't buy that. I personally don't buy that. Diane Drake says, I would like to know, how did Republicans win in every state? Okay. I mean, there are people who get paid a lot of money to do that kind of political analysis, and we are still waiting for the data on this. So anybody tells you about that, if anybody's making any claims about like why Democrats did so poorly in this election, it's all speculation at this point. And I'm happy to speculate too, but recognize that nobody knows the answer to that right now. My own personal theory is that, there was a lot of propaganda telling Democrats not to vote. And I saw a lot of it. And I'm just going to read you, because I made a list, because I saw so much of it that I was just like, I want to make sure that I have this all down for posterity's sake. Both sides are the same. She hasn't earned my votes. I don't want to be complicit in a corrupt system. The lesser of two evils is still evil. Like, all of these narratives were circling around social media, which is where all of the undecided voters were getting their news media from. And so a lot of people were convinced to not vote, and it makes sense, because we're looking at around 5 to 8 million fewer voters this election than in 2020. And I think that narrative, those narratives, had a lot to do with that. There was also, an incumbency bias that was felt around the world. And it was a very strong and powerful force that, I'm not really sure that anybody could have been able to withstand. This is the first year since I think like the 1970s, maybe longer, when the incumbent party in every country around the world that had an election this year lost. Whether they were right, left, or center, incumbents paid a political price this year everywhere. And so that probably also has a lot to do with it. So yeah, there you go. J.D. Hyman says, bad record as a prosecutor. Some people say that. Some people say that she had a great record as a prosecutor. Thoughts on Matt Gaetz as Attorney General? Do I think Matt Gaetz is going to be Attorney General? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. I would be surprised. I think there are probably people with more experience that Trump, other sycophants that Trump would put in office before Matt Gaetz in that position, but I definitely wouldn't put it past him. Like, Trump has a history of putting people in positions that they are not prepared for, just because they are loyalists who will do whatever the fuck he tells them to do. So yeah, I don't know. It would be a nightmare, but anybody that he's going to put in that position is going to be a nightmare, because he's only hiring yes men and fucking sycophants at this point. Kennedy says Elon's Starlink stuff. I have not seen any substantive reporting to back that up. So that seems like it's a conspiracy theory at this point. Haley Ryder says Obama would make a good president. Haley Ryder, you got to work on your verb tense there because Obama was a good president. He had two terms as president. He can't run again. All right, let's see here. Can Vance replace Thune in 2025? Well, no, he's the vice president. He's not fucking replacing anybody, you know? Han Solo, I didn't get a chance to tell you congrats on the election. It sounds like you're just being a dick here, Han Solo. Is that it? Is that the case? Are you man enough to come on here and say, yes, I'm being a dick, Han Solo? Or are you just going to hide behind, are you just going to drop the comment and then dip? Like a fucking scared little mouse. User, a whole bunch of numbers, says, what happens to your vote if you voted by mail but your name got purged in the last couple of weeks? I think it depends on state by state. There are organizations that are working on ballot curing right now. You should check out Vote Save America for some resources on that. You should also contact I think the Office of the Secretary of State is the one that generally handles ballot curing. So yeah, reach out to your representatives and see about making sure that your vote counted. Haley Ryder says Michelle Obama would. I'm sure she'd be a great president. I did read her book though, and she said that she has absolutely zero interest in it. So, I don't believe that she is going to answer the call. Also, if I was a woman and I was thinking about running for president right now, I would be a little skittish about it, because it seems as though the country has said that we are so misogynistic that we would rather vote for the worst person in the world than a woman. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that is the narrative that is one of the narratives that is coming out of Hillary losing to Trump and also Kamala losing to Trump. But yeah, I support women running for office, especially president. So I hope that Democrats and any woman who was thinking about running for president are not, deterred by the disastrous outcome of 2016 and 2024. Let's see here. Tulsi Gabbard would have won. She 100% would not have. She's an agent of the Russian government. Let's see here. It's not racism, but misogyny. I'm sure it's a little bit of both. My belief is this country is misogynistic. I mean, we have no evidence to suggest otherwise. Let's see here. Kamala wants to distance herself far from left voters. That is not an accurate assessment, I believe. User 2020. I do not believe that is accurate at all. Let's see here. Did you vote for Harris in your state's primary election? I did vote for Harris in my state's primary election. Tinsel Finks 255. Try to call me on that. Call me on it, Tinsel Finks. Ask me to clarify. Fucking miss me with that shit. Ho, please, says Kamala doesn't like her voters. That is not true. Chica Chula says, God help us. We now will have the policy of the heartless. Yeah, we're all going to have to do a lot of fighting, and it's going to fucking suck. And we're all going to have to do a lot of organizing, and, it's going to suck. It's going to fucking suck. But we all got to take care of each other, and we all got to work together. There's I was just listening to Chris Hayes' podcast before I came on here, an excellent episode that is filled with a lot of hope and direction for people who are worried about the outcome of this election. And one of the things that they said on there was there's an expression for people that are living through authoritarian regimes, which is everybody holds hands. It's something like that. It's like nobody lets go of their neighbor's hand or something like that. And it's just basically we gotta take care of each other and we gotta work together. That's it. Bernie would have won. It's really easy to say that, but nobody knows that to be the case. Chica Chula says, I'm so scared for our country the economy cannot take their jaded policies. I'm with you there, Chica Chula, and I have already taken steps to try to mitigate some of the damage that is going to happen. Kelly Renee says, what can we do to fight? Excellent question, Kelly Renee. Okay, so there are organizations that are already set up to help, Kelly Renee. And so look for these organizations, all right? Vote Save America. Check out AOC. She has a lot of great information about organizing. Run for Something is another great organization. And I don't know, because I didn't finish listening to the episode, but on Chris Hayes' most recent podcast, he was talking to somebody who literally does this for a living, organizes against authoritarian regimes. And so check out that episode for more information on that. But Vote Save America and Run for Something are like my two go-to organizations for helping. And so if you want to fight, that's where you go. Let's see here. Does the pandemonium and dramatic content help Democrats? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Like pandemonium. Wait, hold on a second. I just got flagged for harassment and bullying, which is interesting because I haven't been doing any of that. But people on the right like to report my channel just because I'm telling the truth. How do we protect law-abiding, undocumented, and DACA recipients? That is a really good question because they are 100% in the crosshairs right now by the Trump administration. So I don't know. Reach out to organizations that do that kind of thing because they're going to need all the fucking help that they can get, man. Shoe20 says, all you do is lie. No, I don't. Talk to you later. Hummus Vacuum says, between Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, Wes Moore, etc., which Dem should be pushed for 2028? I honestly, I don't really know. I don't know. I think that we could. I think we deserve to have a lengthy primary with as few people as humanly possible. Like, I do not think that we get any value from having another primary where it's like 50 Democrats all running in, together at the exact same fucking time. We had fucking Bill de Blasio and Beto O'Rourke and Julian Castro and Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and everything. Hey guys, I got reported for inactivity on my live. Isn't it interesting that I keep getting reported for shit that I'm not doing on my live? It's almost as though people are trying to use the mechanisms of TikTok to boot me out of this because they don't like that I'm telling the truth about shit. Isn't that interesting? I think that's interesting. All right, let's see here. All right, Carla K. Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean a lie. Completely agree with that. Let's see here. Guy Gillies says, gotta love that he ignores questions. I don't ignore questions, but I get a lot of comments. Sometimes I don't see them all. Let's see here. Summerpunk, freedom of speech, but they want to silence you. Yeah, no arguments there. Date Tonic says, in 2024, I'm spreading the same message to immigrants that I spread in 2016. Always say lawyer. I mean, I hope that still works. We're looking down the barrel of a completely lawless second Trump administration. So, I'm not fully confident that we are, have the kind of, that the law is going to save us going forward, Let's see here. Bruh728. If MAGA is hating on you, you must be doing something right. No arguments there. Maoloris asks, who's your favorite politician? So, I will tell you a bunch of politicians that I like, but I also want to encourage people to not lionize any politician. Like, I don't give a shit who you love. That person is flawed. And there's something about the way that they live their life or their past or the decisions that they have made in office that you do not agree with. And when people lionize their leaders in this way, you got one option, which is full cult, like MAGA, where dear leader can't fucking do anything wrong. Or you get so, deep in your feels for a politician that when they do something to disappoint you, then suddenly they're dead to you. And you're just like, never again. They made one mistake, blah, blah, blah. So I encourage people to be more realistic about their politicians. But I love Katie Porter. I love Sherrod Brown. I'm really pissed off that he lost his election. Let's see here. I like Bernie. I like AOC. I like the whole progressive wing, because that's because I'm a progressive, that's the shit that I like. But yeah, I really like Katie Porter. I voted for her in the primary for senator. Peaceful Presence says, check that your vote was counted on vote.org. And I will second that sentiment. Everybody double check to make sure that their votes were counted. Summerpunk says, Bernie and AOC are my favorites. Yeah, they're great. I got no problem with that. G, you're the second person that asked me if Matt Gaetz is going to be Attorney General. And I didn't see, was that announced? Because I have not seen that. Let's see here. Katie Porter sets a bar above any current candidate. Yeah, I think she's great, But again, she is also a flawed human being. So when, I'm not even going to say if, when she does something that I don't agree with, I am still going to like her a lot. Let's see here. It was just announced that Matt Gaetz is going to be Attorney General. Unfucking believable. And I was just like 20 minutes ago, I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm such a fucking idiot, man. Yeah, well, the dude is a fucking psychopath. That's going to be a fucking nightmare. Matt Gaetz is Attorney General. That is going to be a fucking nightmare. Good luck, everybody. Good fucking luck. We are all going to need it, man. Unreal. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh, Jasmine Crockett, says Sin. Yeah, I fucking love Jasmine Crockett. She is so fucking funny. Man, I love her in hearings. I love her in fucking interviews. She's the best, man. Juice Beats Cycling says, thoughts on what the Russian aide to Putin said. I believe what you're referring to, Juice Beats, is that Russia has done a lot of favors for Trump, and that now they're going to ask for repayment in favors or some shit. And if that's what you're referring to, then that tracks with everything that I have learned before this moment in time. So while I cannot confirm or deny whether or not that happens, I can say that that is the most likely thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like when Chris Christie was being sued because he was accused of closing down a bridge just for political retribution. I was like, I don't know if that is true, but it is the most true sounding thing that I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. Let's see here. Lauren Boebert, I heard, was Department of Education. Unfucking believable. Yeah, this is what y'all voted for. Fucking ding-dongs. Unfucking believable. Yeah, good luck, everybody. That's all I gotta say. Good luck, and I hope you all got your fighting shoes on. I hope you all got your boots. Your boots ready to go. Travis Riddle says, why would you say 50 million more people voted for Biden than Kamala and Obama? Dems racist? Wow, Travis, really seems like you're baiting here. And no, 50 million more people did not vote for Biden than Kamala and Obama. Kamala got more votes than Obama did in both of his elections, I believe, but definitely 2012. She also got more votes than Hillary Clinton. She also got more votes than John Kerry and Al Gore, and I believe Bill Clinton as well. So yeah, the current vote totals that we're looking at is that she got around 5 million-ish. 5 to 8 million fewer votes than Biden did. Okay. John Wick says, where did the 20 million Democratic voters go? Again, it's not 20 million, John Wick. Let's see here. Annie Dog. Thoughts on Doge? Isn't this conflict of interest with Musk? Yeah, but we're going to have to fucking get used to that, Annie Dog, because this administration doesn't give a fuck about conflict of interest. Trump hasn't even signed the unbinding document that he has to sign to say that he will avoid ethics, conflicts of interest and all that shit, which is illegal. It is illegal to not sign the document. He signed it last time, didn't abide by it. There were no legal consequences to that. And now, even though he has legal immunity for the things that he does in office, he's still refusing to sign the fucking document. This is the thing about authoritarian regimes, is they will take every fucking thing that they can. And even though he has a full Republican Senate, he can pass whatever fucking judge he wants, he can nominate any fucking buddy to anybody wherever, he is still trying to get recess appointments instead. Because he's like, even that is too much fucking oversight for me. What a fucking nightmare we're living through, guys. Unfucking believable, man. Unfucking believable. John Wick 666. Oh, I'm so sorry. 12.2 million voters, LMFAO. What happened to them? I've actually discussed that before on this live John Wick, and I'm happy to repeat myself. But I just want to say for the record that I know that you are not operating in good faith, and you're just being a jerk. But I'll answer that anyways. I think that there was a lot of propaganda encouraging people not to vote. In narratives like both parties are the same and you don't want to be corrupt in perpetuating the two-party system, things like that. There was also an incumbency bias that every country in the world suffered this year. Every incumbent party, left, right, and center, lost their election this year, and that has not happened since like the 1970s or even before. I can't fucking remember. So yeah, there you go. There's where all those voters went. I hope you enjoy the answer. I hope you enjoy calling me a cuck instead of providing any kind of reasonable counter argument to that. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your fucking day. Zamo, 1983, how is the education system going to be effective? Public education is going to get a lot worse. Standards are going to be eliminated. Funding is going to be eliminated. And it is very likely that states are going to start changing the history that they teach. Because states have already tried to start doing that, and without the Department of Education to stop them, they're just going to do it even more than they were before. So I hope that you enjoy meeting people from fucking Alabama who think that black people really enjoyed being slaves, and that eliminating and then banning slavery was like the worst thing that this country ever did. So there you go. Let's see here. Witwit, what are you most worried about with the next 4 years? I think probably number one is that elections will no longer be fair. That is my number one fear, because the only thing that we can do to fight this right now is protesting, which the Trump administration has already said they're going to be extremely vigilant in putting down protests. That includes, potentially shooting protesters, deporting protesters, shit like that. He already gassed a bunch of protesters just so he could do a fucking stupid ass, photo op holding a Bible upside down in front of a church during his first fucking administration. So yeah, there's protesting, and there's voting, and there's organizing. And so I am worried that they're going to start jailing political opponents like they do in Russia, and I'm worried that they're going to start rigging elections like they do in Russia. And this is not to discourage anybody from being involved politically. We don't want to self-censor. We don't want to stop ourselves before they make us stop. So everybody should still be voting. Everybody should still be organizing. Everybody should still be doing the work. Giving up is what they want, because when we give up, it makes their job easier. Alrighty. I wish Republicans knew creating a pathway to citizenship would increase U.S. GDP by up to 1.7 trillion. I agree with that, but I mean, there's a bunch of problems with that. The right has all these narratives about how terrible immigrants are. There are the people who believe that, they're like, I'm not racist, but I just think that immigrants are hurting our economy and they're taking money and resources away from actual citizens. And I think it's wrong that they came here illegally when there are people trying to do it the right way. Like, all of these are complete and utter bullshit narratives. And then there's also just people who are straight up fucking racist, who are like, yeah, fucking get those, people of color the fuck out of here, Rich Thompson says, stop voting left and right, vote independent. Rich Thompson is an example. Everybody can take a look right now. This is a comment that is on my live. Rich Thompson said, stop voting left and right, vote independent. This is an example of the kind of propaganda that I have been telling people is the reason why there were fewer voters this year than in 2020. All right? This is a narrative that is intended to get fewer people to vote, and the people that do vote is trying to get fewer people to vote Democratic. Because people on the right are not going to stop voting Republican. It is firmly part of their identity. And I find it so fucking funny when Republicans rail against, identity politics when they are the ones who are most fucking guilty of that. So yeah, that is just the kind of bullshit that gets people to not vote. It's the kind of bullshit that gets people to not vote for Democrats. So you can miss me with that shit, Rich Thompson. And keep your eyes peeled, everybody, because all the people that were there were like, they were saying, I've been talking about this for a long time, and people were like, that doesn't happen. I've never seen anybody say not to vote. And I'm like, well, there you go. There's one right now. All right, Surf. I personally know people who can't get into the U.S. legally. Okay. I don't know what the point of the program. IDK says Dems just don't know how to reach the average American. I'm not really sure if that is accurate, IDK, because here's the thing. Republicans have a massive information advantage over Democrats. They have a lot more money. They have a lot more propaganda channels available to them. And they're a lot more insidious. They're working with Russia to try to incept narratives into our political discourse. So, I don't know how the Democratic Party fights that with so many fewer resources available to them than the Republican Party. I think we need to mobilize. I think it's up to us. I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of over people blaming the Democratic Party for shit like this. Like this is our country. Like, it's up to us to do this work in addition to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is not there to save us. They're there to do the work. And we are part of that work now because we are up against the entire Republican Party, all the richest people in the fucking globe, and every adversarial nation that is currently allied with the Republican Party, like fucking North Korea and Russia. And we all have to fucking work against that. It's not just the Democrats can't do it by themselves. We got to do it. We got to do it with them. We got to work also. Globalize my agenda 69 says hi. What's going on? How does it feel to have Trump as president soon? Terrible. Flonkstos Dragon over on YouTube says, I can't believe he outdid Betsy DeVos, but he did. Bobert, really? Yeah, I completely fucking agree with you. But that's what I've been fucking saying, guys. That's what I've been saying on this live for fucking years now, is that this is going to be worse than the last one. What he learned from the last administration was I can't have people that are not fully MAGA. It has to be full MAGA or they won't do the crazy shit that I want them to do. So, here we fucking are. Let's see here. Kathy says, the language makes you sound less than intelligent. What language? Me cursing? If that's what you're saying, Kathy, then I don't fucking know what to tell you, Kathy. Sally Rubrob, why are we not teaching proper research skills? Well, funding has been cut from education thanks to Republicans, and that is intentional. They want to have a less educated public. They want to have a public that is less able to do critical. They want a public that has fewer critical thinking skills. And it is the reason why the demographic that most consistently votes Republican are the uneducated and undereducated. By defunding education, they have increased their voter base. Let's see here. Dana Point Realtor, just the word loyalist is gross. I don't know. Yeah, I agree, and I know what that word means, but I don't know if 100% of America knows what that word means. So I just go saying full MAGA psychopaths. I think they know what that means. Full MAGA psychopaths will do whatever the fuck whatever crazy shit Donald Trump wants them to do is the same as loyalists, All right. Diego De Leon Jr. says, do you feel there's going to be a recount? I have not seen any substantive reporting saying that there's going to be a recount. Bruh728, Russia used misinformation to attack our politics. Completely agree with that. Terrence C. Democrats refuse school choice. Mandatory to send your kids to failing schools in New York City. That is not true at all, Terrence C. School choice is a narrative that Republicans use to try to continue to privatize education. They're trying to kill public education because they don't want poor people to be able to get an education and have any kind of social mobility whatsoever. Adlib79, how come Republicans voted to have the lobbyists run the country? Because they were fed Republican propaganda, and that convinced them that was the best thing to do. Sally Rhubarb, they are still counting. Recounts can happen if they have small enough margins. Yeah, but a lot of the talk about the recount is we're talking about like national, where a lot of those margins were not close enough. Tropical Modernist says 2028 Mark Cuban for president. Thoughts? I like Mark Cuban. He seems like an okay guy. I don't know if I would vote for him for president, but there's a part of me that's like, I want to vote for the politician that I think is going to be the best, and there's another part of me, like a lot of Democrats, who are like, I want to vote for the politician that's going to win. And a charismatic billionaire who has been on television for a long time and does have some progressive bona fides seems like a good potential candidate to win in this kind of environment. But I don't know, like maybe after the disaster of the next 4 years, people will be turned off from electing billionaires, But he can run in the fucking primary. The only thing that I would say fuck you, Mark Cuban, about is if he decided to like do an independent run or just try to buy his way into the primary like fucking Howard Schultz did and, all those fucking assholes. Jumpers says, would defunding Department of Education impact red states the most? I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know if... Yeah, I would have to look at the stats on that, Chompers. Let's see here. Bailey Renee says, Bailey Renee, online coach, is better than a reality star who isn't a good businessman. LOL. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'll take Mark Cuban. The list of people that I would take over Donald Trump is, it would fill the Library of Alexandria. Vero says, RFK removing fluoride from the water. I'm like on the fence about fluoride. I know that science says that it's safe. But I did see a report recently that it was linked to dementia later on in life. And studies need to be vetted. They need to be double checked. They need to be peer reviewed. So at the moment, the science says that fluoride is safe. But, being somebody who is open to science means that you are open to having your opinion changed. And if we get more data saying that fluoride is not safe, then I'm open to taking it out of the water. Dylan says, do you believe in God? I don't believe in God, but I do believe in weird shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean weird shit like I believe in the flying spaghetti monster, but I believe that there are more things between heaven and earth that are dreamt of in our philosophy, Horatio. And, I believe, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I have seen him in my dreams multiple times, and I told my wife that, and I believe that he was actually visiting me in those moments. And my wife is a little bit more philosophically materialistic, meaning that my wife is not materialistic like she likes material things, but that she believes in the materialism of the universe, meaning that when we die, there's no spirit. You just kind of like your atoms get eaten by worms and shit like that. But I believe in the frou-frou things, like I believe in, spirits and energies and shit like that, but I'm not, what do you call it? I'm not, I'm not putting any bets on it. I just have my heart is open to the idea that the universe is stranger and weirder and more complicated and incomprehensible than we can fathom. I don't care for the argument. I know we're kind of getting off of politics right now, but I don't care for the argument that, someone's like, in order for something to be true, it has to be repeatable, where I'm like, I agree with that, like from a scientific perspective, I do. But there are plenty of things that aren't repeatable that we know to be true, like, oh, you have a best friend? Do that again. Do it again. Having a best friend is only a thing if it's repeatable, right? I know that this is not exactly how science works, guys. I'm being colloquial. I'm being fun here. All right. Anyways. All right. This person says yes, defunding the Department of Education will hurt red states most because blue states will replace with state programs. Do we have so I can't pronounce your name. It's a whole bunch of letters. Adawana Duichim, something like that. Is there precedent for that, or are you assuming that is what's going to happen? Matt Gates for AG, the world is coming to an end. I agree that is a nightmare, but don't be defeatist, Amy. Everybody listen to Chris Hayes' most recent episode of his podcast, because that is exactly what I think we all need to hear right now, is that episode. Sally Rhubarb, everyone who hates spaghetti is going to be deported. Listen, as somebody with Italian heritage, I am pro deporting people who hate spaghetti. I don't know how you can be a good person and hate fucking pasta, man. All right, let's see here. Globalize My Agenda 69 says Trump probably won't be all that bad. I completely disagree with that. Globalize My Agenda and all the appointments that he has made so far and all of the things that he has said that he is going to do indicate that it is going to be 1,000 times worse than his first term. So yeah, I gotta say, Globalize My Agenda 69 over on Twitch. I could not agree with you less. I could not agree with that statement less. Jompers, if your gluten allergy is bad enough, you might. Yeah, that's true. Tim King says, can you summarize the podcast episode? I can't because I didn't finish listening to it. I only heard, I think, the first 30 minutes. But it's basically talking to somebody who is an expert in battling authoritarian regimes and talking about how, we still have a lot of power as citizens to fight authoritarian regimes. And that people still are energized and ready to fight and ready to go. There are people like me. I worked my ass off for the last 8 years to stop this from happening. And I definitely had a really rough week last week. And so people like me assume that we're all devastated to the point where we can't do shit anymore. But there are a lot of people out there who are ready, willing, and able to continue the fight and to try to, fix the, put out the garbage fires that are going to be set by the Trump administration. That is basically what the episode was about. The podcast is called Why Is This Happening? It is the most recent episode of Chris Hayes' podcast, Why Is This Happening? That everybody should fucking listen to because, again, it is exactly what we need to hear right now. Let's see here. Flonk says, but do you wind your spaghetti on a spoon? I do not because I'm a fucking Italian. And we know how to twirl fucking spaghetti. All right, John Wick 66 thing. Everything he said has been nothing but hopeful for our country. Yeah, no, that is the opposite. What do you think is hopeful about saying shit like liberals are the enemy within? How is that hopeful to target like 80 million people in this country, John Wick? How is that hopeful? How is that hopeful what he's fucking talking about? Tariffs on every fucking thing that comes in this country, which is going to increase inflation. Mass deportations, which is going to be a fucking nightmare. Ripping families apart. How is that hopeful, my man? Unfucking believable. All right, Sally Rhubarb is still waiting for Ashton Kutcher to pop out and tell us we've been punked. King Mesh says, how do you feel about Bernie's statements? LOL, I asked a gazillion times. Well, I'm sorry, King Mesh, but I get a lot of comments on here. But persecution complex much? You're fine. I'm just being silly. How do I feel about Bernie's statement? I don't agree with it. I don't agree that the Democratic Party the reason why Democrats have been losing elections is because they abandoned the working class party. And the reason why is because the Democratic Party has done a lot for the working class, and the Republican Party has done a lot to hurt the working class. So if that really was the metric, then people should recognize that the Republican Party is worse for workers than Democrats. And it's not even subtle. Like Elon Musk was out there on stage saying that he is a proud union buster. And Biden was walking the picket line. Biden successfully negotiated for the paid sick days that the rail union workers, that the rail workers union was fighting for. Biden did that. Biden's Department of Labor and Justice have been more pro-union and pro-worker than any administration since FDR, and they still punished his administration by voting for Republicans in a fucking landslide. So yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it 1 second. Now, I will say this. Like, is the narrative that Democrats have abandoned the working class? Sure. Is the narrative that Republicans are more working class because they're more the truck and beer party and they're not so polished, college educated, fuddy-duddies, you know? Sure, maybe those narratives exist, but it's not based in fucking reality, you know? And if anything, we need to change that, you know? Like, do I think the Democratic Party should be more pro-worker? Absolutely. Like, let's go fucking all in on helping the working class. I'm not just saying that to win elections. Like, I believe that is the right thing to do. Like, I'm working class, you know? I waited tables for 12 fucking years before I was able to retire so I could just do comedy. But, you know, like, do you think I don't still have that in my blood? You know, you think I don't still, every time I'm being waited on, I'm just like, this is one of my fucking people here, man. Like me and you, we're in the fucking trenches together. Yeah, man, fucking help the working class. But do I believe that it is because of Democratic policies that we lost this election? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Abso-fucking-lutely not. When compared to Republicans, we're fucking si se puede, man. We're fucking Cesar Chavez over here. Let's see here. John Wick 66, college education does not equal intelligence. LMAO. Have you heard your own rhetoric? I don't even know what you're talking about, man. When did I say that being college educated meant that you were intelligent? When did I say that? All right. Okay. They didn't abandon the working class policy-wise. They just aren't good at messaging to them. Says Adwana, can't pronounce your name. A whole bunch of letters. I don't think it's the messaging. I think it's the money. I think it's the fact that Republicans have a lot more money and are more insidious about spreading propaganda. I think it has to do with their propaganda networks, their channels, the fact that Russia is helping them spread this disinformation, the fact that they are fully enveloped into all of these social media channels in order to push these narratives onto people. And so I don't know that Democrats have the ability to fight that. We don't have the resources, and we're also not as fucking diabolical, you know? Like, we're not going to team up with fucking the European Union to be like, hey, can you sneakily insert narratives into our social media? Do you guys mind doing that for us? It's the same way that Democrats don't close down polling locations in Republican areas. But that's something that Republicans do. So it's like we don't have the resources. We're not as conniving and sinister. We're not cheaters the way that Republicans are. So what do? The only thing that we can do is mobilize every single Democrat. It's not up to the Democratic Party, and it's not up to fucking legacy media or mainstream media to spread these correct, true narratives, to spread the truth about shit like that. It's up to us. We have to talk to people, and we have to talk to people in real life, too. So, you can go on your fucking, Blue Sky account or your Instagram and talk about these issues, but you have to tell real people. Because that's the only way that you know that real people are hearing this message. That's the only way that I can figure that we counter all these bullshit narratives. Because again, we had John Oliver, we had Jimmy Kimmel, we had Stephen Colbert, we had Jon Stewart, we had all these people out there saying the correct narrative, but it was nothing compared to the bullshit that was being spread online. All right, there you go. Clam Extract says politicians on the left need to start using independent media resources heavily. They barely do. I mean, an argument could be made, but to me, it feels like too little. We have to mobilize the individual voters in this country to be the messengers, in addition to having the Democratic Party do their messaging. When do we turn our back on Ukraine but not Israel? Well, I don't know that we did turn our back on Ukraine. I know that the Trump administration is turning their back on Ukraine, but I'm not really sure what you're asking there. Courts controlled. Let's see here. Victoria, have you ever thought your narrative is wrong? Excellent question, Victoria. And this is something that I'm very proud of because every month, every couple of weeks, every half a year or whatever. I always do a check. I always do a, am I being blind about this? And I always come back to a couple of things. Here's my first thing. Number one, Republicans say that climate change isn't real. They still say that it's not real. But we can all look out our fucking windows and see that the weather is 1,000 times harder than it used to be, and there's more storms, and the storms are stronger, and people that grow crops are having to grow their crops further north because where they are is too hot. Like the climate isn't there anymore. There's currently like weird ass southern Florida spiders that are working their way up to New York because climate change is fucking real. It's fucking real. That's number one. Number two is Republicans have been saying and are still saying that trickle-down economics is the way that we build a strong economy. They're still saying this. It's been 44 fucking years since Reagan was elected. That shit's not trickling down. Income inequality is worse than it has been in generations, maybe ever. And Republicans are still saying, no, but give it a second, give it a minute. We're almost there. We just need a little more, just need a couple $2 billion more, and then it's going to start trickling down, I promise you. We're living through a cost of living crisis. We're living through an affordability crisis because of trickle-down economics. And Republicans are still out there saying that. There are so many examples of this where I'm like, Republicans are saying something that I know to be complete and utter bullshit. And so I have a shorthand now for who to trust and who not to trust. In addition to doing all the other smart things like verifying my information with multiple sources. I don't just listen to the mainstream media, and I also don't just listen to independent journalists. I listen to a mix. And I also don't just listen to American voices. I listen to, the Guardian UK and the BBC and all that crap, So yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident that my narratives are correct here. I've also been proven right so many times, It's difficult. It's difficult. Dan Joseph, I bet you don't even know what trickle down is actually called. It's called supply side economics, you fucking idiot. What a dick. I bet you don't even know what it's really called. Sorry. Sometimes I gotta just do something for me, Good Lord. The what you say doesn't count unless you pass my test shit that Republicans do. Mwah. Unbelievable. I love it. No notes. This is tasty. This is better than my mama's spaghetti bolognese. Oh, yeah. Booger Scotch says, that's the same argument as I bet you don't even know what AR stands for, as if it matters. Yeah, I know. I know that kids are getting fucking shot. That's what I fucking know. That's all I fucking need to know, man. It's Mary B. So we should just believe everything you say? No. Fucking check. Google it. Don't just take everything that I'm saying for fact. Fucking, it's the reason why I talk about other sources on these live streams. Because I'm not out here telling you that I'm the only person who's right. I mean, I'm always right. He said, even 40 minutes ago, he said that Matt Gaetz probably isn't going to be the Attorney General. And then, lo and behold. So, yeah. Definitely double check everything that I tell you guys. Tim King, have you checked out that paid news service with Blind Spot News? I forget what it's called. I actually have not heard about that, Tim King. Sorry about that. Aiden, have Democrats went away with taxing the rich? It seems like they preach it, but it doesn't happen. There are multiple times during the previous Democratic administrations where there have been tax the rich policies. Famously, during the Obama administration, he attempted to reinstitute some tax the rich policies, but Republicans shut down the whole fucking government because of it. They were like, we're going to shut the fucking government if you increase taxes on the rich. So yeah. No, it's still there. It still exists, but yeah. I don't know. If I was running for president, if I was running for office, that would be the one I'm going to tax the shit out of the fucking rich guys. Everybody who has over $1 billion is only going to have $800 million. And I can't wait to watch them fucking cry their golden tears. That would be my fucking political platform. But yeah, the Democrats, they say they're going to do it. Then they do it. So yeah. Yeah, maybe we don't see it. But yeah, it 100% happens. All right. Let's see here. All right. Well, so I got kicked off of TikTok, probably because I called that guy a jerk. But that's fine. That happens sometimes. But since that is where I get the majority of my comments from, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you, everybody who is watching elsewhere, and I will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye. Oh, shit. Real Aphrodite says, who's the best president in the history of the United States? I don't know who the best president of the United States is. I can only tell you presidents that I have liked. I think that Biden did a really great job, and I don't think people give him enough credit. All right. Take care, everybody. I'm out of here. Bye bye.